Arrowverse Crossover Crisis Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley, and we finally made it to the Elseworlds crossover. So today we will start with the Season 5, Episode 9 episode of The Flash, Elseworlds Hour 1. Now this episode opens up with the destruction of Earth 90, which is the 90s TV version of The Flash, starring John Wesley Shipp, who also plays Barry's father / Jay Garrick on the current show The Flash. So we open up with that destruction of the Earth 90. We see a couple of dead characters like Firestorm, and the Earth 90 version of the Flash runs and escapes. And then we meet Dr. John Deegan, who's giving a lecture, and people will start to think he's crazy. And then he runs into the Monitor, which gives him this book that can change destiny. And I was thinking, why does the Monitor choose him? He says something about, he's traveled or he's done all this time to try and make sure that he meets John Deegan and gives him this book. And I was like, but why this guy? He's like, you have a vision. I'm like, aren't other people have a vision too? Why are you giving it to this crazy, Arkham Asylum doctor? I don't know. But he gives him the book, and so John Deegan sort of rewrites the Earth 1 universe. And then we open up with the Elseworlds logo credits. And I really like this Elseworlds logo. I think it's really slick. And it's different from the previous crossover logos. And then we wake up with Oliver, who wakes up in Barry's bed to Iris making him breakfast. And I love Oliver's confusion about what's going on and how lovey Iris is to him. And he's just so like, I have no idea, and why are you, kissing me? It's really cute. I like Stephen Amell plays it really great. He's really adorable in those opening scenes. And then of course he tries to be the Flash, and he goes after this break-in, and he says the line, he gives the Arrow line of, "You have failed this city." And Cisco's like, "That's not your line, dude." So that was a pretty funny scene of him trying to figure out the Flash powers and how it all works and how to be the hero. So there's some good comedy there. And then, of course, he gets back to Star Labs. Everybody's looking at him like he's crazy. But Caitlin says, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He's perfect. And, of course, Iris is like, yeah, he's perfect. I mean, have you seen those abs? And there it is again, Iris just loves how hot, Oliver Queen is. So, it's that's a little callback right there, which I have been tracking through these crossovers. So, it's a funny little scene. And, of course, he's like, no, let's not do this here. And he wants to go talk to Barry. And then so we find out Barry has become the Green Arrow, and he's fighting Diggle, and Diggle's calling him Oliver, and I love Barry's reaction. He's like, I'm the Green Arrow, like so proud of it, and he's like, oh wait, what happened? So that's a good little scene there too, and I like that, Oliver, the real Oliver, is trying to figure out why this is happening, and of course Barry's kind of like having fun with it, until he's like, yeah, I woke up with Iris this morning, and Barry's like, oh yeah, we can't have that. And then, of course, we get Barry doing the salmon ladder, which is the classic Green Arrow thing to do. Which we did see Barry do the salmon ladder as the Flash in The Brave and the Bold. But here he's doing it as the Green Arrow. So that's kind of a nice little callback there, too. All these crossover episodes, come full circle. And then, of course, we get Barry and Oliver confronting Team Star Labs. And everybody thinks they're crazy. And it's a cute little line here, Iris is like, come on, I'm not into this. The real Barry, he's not my type, guy. And then she, walks away and she kind of whispers, I only got eyes for you. Which is a nice little callback to, I think, Season 4 episode, where we meet Elongated Man for the first time, and she compares him to being, like, hot like Oliver Queen. And Barry's like, really? And she says, oh, I only have eyes for you, babe. And so that's a cute little callback right there, also, which I like. And then they get locked up in the pipeline. And I like them in the meta cell trying to figure out how to escape and work with each other. That was a lot of fun. Barry has to dislocate his thumb, which looks really gross. And Oliver needs to vibe out of the cell. And then, of course, we get the answered question of, how do all those metahumans in those meta cells, how do they have to go to the bathroom? And, of course, Barry, reveals, oh, there's a toilet in the that just pops out if you just press your foot up against the tile. There's a toilet that pops out. So that was kind of a funny little meta joke right there. Then we get Cisco vibing the Monitor, which was kind of interesting. And that, of course, leads him to want to believe that Barry and Oliver are telling the truth. They've swapped lives. And then so Barry and Oliver decide to go to Earth 38 to meet Kara. Because if she remembers them, then it was only Earth 1 that was affected. And so they go and meet Kara on Earth 38 at the the good old Kent farm, and you get the Smallville song, the song that plays in the credits of the show Smallville. That comes over as we see the Kent farm, and we meet Kara working with Clark and Lois. And so Barry and Oliver meet with Kara, and she, of course, remembers who they are, so they, try to recruit her to help. And, I like this version of Clark, and I like this version of Lois Lane. I know a lot of people might not, but I don't have a problem with them. I think they're fun characters. I like their chemistry. I like the actors playing the role, so I had a lot of fun on this farm scene. And, of course, we get, and I like Oliver. Barry kind of calls Oliver out. He's like, "Are you puffing out your chest?" And Oliver's like, "Yes." When he meets Superman for the first time. So that's kind of just a little funny thing. And then we get the training scene with Barry and Oliver, again, sort of reminiscent to Flash vs. Arrow, first crossover episode. And this time it's Oliver that gets shot in the back with arrows. So it's a good little, kind of reference, but it leads to, an interesting scene with Oliver being really upset that, Barry's not really, taking things as seriously as Oliver does. And it's a good little moment where they talk, and he says, I use all my anger and my darkness to channel through, when I'm the Green Arrow, and, it kind of pissed me off when you're just, laughing, having a good time, and, using my abilities. So it's a really good scene between Oliver and Barry, and they've come a long way since that first crossover, but this kind of shows that, they do things very differently still, and they don't necessarily understand why each other does things differently. And so this is a good moment for the two of them. I really like it a lot. And so we get Cisco that comes in to the farm and says, "Hey, we need you guys' help." And so Supergirl and Superman follow them along. And I just thought real quick, I was like, does Superman wear his suit under his clothes? Because later in the crossovers, we also get Supergirl. They're always unbuttoning their shirt and their suit is underneath. Why do they do that? Do they always do that? That sounds like an easy way of getting figured out, like anything could happen. But it's interesting. And then, of course, we get the AMAZO villain, MAAZO. I like Cisco just kind of being like, these names just fall into your lap sometimes of these crazy villains. They're right there. AMAZO. And it's definitely reminds me of the Sentinel bots from X-Men Days of Future Past movie, where you just can kind of copy and replicate the powers of the superheroes. So it's clearly just a villain here to give them, someone to team up and fight. And it is a good, nice fight with the AMAZO character. Everybody's giving it their all. They're, they got Superman helping them out, which is a lot of fun. And I love Sherlock just being like, it's a computer. Just turn it off. And they're like, we never thought about that. So that was kind of a funny scene. And I do like that Oliver and Barry kind of need to take on each other's personalities in order to properly use their abilities, which is kind of fun. I like Oliver pretending to be the Flash, and it's just so funny. He's like, "Can you move, please?" That's good. And of course, Barry delivers the line, "You have failed this city," to AMAZO, which is interesting because Iris wanted to just turn AMAZO off, and Barry said something really dark like Oliver Queen would. He's like, "No, we're gonna send it to hell." And it's a good little scene with Iris that's like, I don't want you to be dark like Oliver Queen, so when you guys switch your lives back, promise me that that's not going to be who you are. And he promises her. And then we get a good scene where the Monitor can see through Cisco's vibe, which was kind of cool. I like that a lot. So Cisco vibes the Monitor, and the Monitor says something cryptic, and then, and that's what leads them to Gotham City, because they can see Wayne Tower in the back. And so it's a good little end teaser for the next episode of the crossover, where we get to run into Batwoman. So that's the end of the episode. And there's a lot of good stuff in this episode. I like bringing in Supergirl and Superman. I thought that was a lot of fun. I do like this version of Lois Lane. I like at the end Sherlock gives Clark an alimony check. I thought that was kind of a funny misunderstanding. Clark thought Sherlock was going to pay him for his services. And he's like, no, I do this for free. And he's like, "Oh, yes, I'm sure you do. But here's my alimony check. My second or third wife or whatever is on Earth 38. And so that was kind of a funny moment. I'm not a huge fan of the Sherlock character, but every now and then he has his moments. And then, of course, I love Supergirl interacting with Barry and Oliver. I miss the Supergirl costume with the skirt. I really hate that new costume with the pants. I really do. But, you know, here, I like how they use Supergirl a lot, and I like seeing her team up with Superman. And, you know, I thought, you know, why would John Deegan use the book to switch Barry and Oliver? And in the next episode, he says that, you know, he didn't mean to. It's just he doesn't know how to use the book very well. He meant to switch himself with Barry and be the Flash. So that kind of answered my question when I caught up to the next episode. But this book is never really explained on how you use it. Well, Superman explains it a little bit, but it kind of just opens up and it just glows at you, and you kind of just, you know, try to, I don't know, Superman says something about using your sheer will to change reality. So we'll see how John Deegan uses the book again. But we don't get a whole lot of the Monitor in this episode, just those couple of scenes, but he's used really well. He's very mysterious. I really like, you know, his sort of calm, monotone, yet sort of a menace type of voice. It's really interesting. And then, of course, the end teaser for the Batwoman crossover for the next episode. So this was the Flash episode of the crossover, and this crossover kind of goes back towards the Invasion version of the crossover, where each episode very much feels like an episode of that show. Whereas the Crisis on Earth X, each episode was just, you know, one part of a whole. And so this is very much, you know, an episode of The Flash, only Oliver is the Flash now. And there's a lot of good stuff. There's just a lot of good jokes. I really, really like this episode a lot. And I don't know what else to say about it, but, you know, we're going to continue with the crossover in the next episode. And that episode's a lot of fun, too. So I was really excited about seeing this Elseworlds crossover. I remember some people were sort of, you know, disappointed with the Elseworlds crossover because they knew what Elseworlds was from the comics. I don't read the comics, so I get to go into these things with, you know, a fresh take and just, you know, an open mind. And, you know, they didn't disappoint me. I had a lot of fun with it. I also like the scene where Barry goes out and tries to fight the bad guys as the Green Arrow, and he kind of messes up a little bit. That was a lot of fun. I will say I think Grant Gustin looks better in the Green Arrow costume than Stephen Amell looks in the Flash costume. That season 5 Flash costume is not very good, and it does not look that great on Stephen Amell either. But I think Grant Gustin looks pretty sharp in that Green Arrow costume. So that was kind of fun to see also. So those are my thoughts on the Elseworlds Hour 1. Stay tuned for Elseworlds Hour 2. Thank you for listening, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next crisis. Thank you all for listening. Here are my thoughts on the current episodes of The Flash, Supergirl, and Batwoman. Follow me over on the Stardust app at Crashly87, CRASHLIE87. For those bookworms out there, check out my blog, Fantastic Literature, link in the description below, for book reviews, short story reviews, and general thoughts about the literary industry. And if you like the podcast, be sure to follow, like, and share it. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.